And I'm going to welcome everyone here to the presentation workshop, actually, for this evening, and that is perimenopause and insomnia. Insomnia is probably one of the biggest symptoms of menopause and perimenopause, particularly perimenopause, because our progesterone is declining, and progesterone affects GABA, the neurotransmitter in the brain called GABA. GABA is a feel-good hormone, but it also calms us down so we can sleep. And so as that declines, other things need to take over, and sometimes they haven't yet. Not to mention the fact that estrogen is a protective hormone and it's also declining. And so we become more sensitive. So our nervous systems can become more sensitive. So it can be harder on the nervous system to relax and to what I call surrender into sleep. And I've got a challenge coming up next month on just this topic. And I've been researching it, and it's been quite fascinating learning about what needs to happen for us to drop down into sleep, not just mindfully or conscious-wise, but all the biochemistry in the body that needs to calm us down so we can surrender into sleep. But we'll get to that later. All right. So, as I said, sleeplessness, insomnia, even if you're kind of sleeping okay, but it doesn't feel refreshing, so you wake up exhausted or not enough sleep, so you can't seem to get the energy throughout the day, not being able to get to sleep, not being able to stay asleep. These are all the common conditions around age 45 to 55. And that's what we're really looking at this evening. And we're going to look at it quite specifically to you. That's why I want you to use the worksheet and to type into chat. So I'm going to get my little whiteboard out and going to set us up for our first questions. So question number 1 on the worksheet, it says, what's currently the sleep problem? So your current sleep issues, I'm going to say issues because there's probably multiple. Current sleep issues. Now, what I mean by that is, are you struggling to get to sleep? So be specific. How long is it taking? What time are you going to bed? Is it before 10 or after 10? What are you doing before you're sleeping? So just have a think about these things, but write down 3 to 5 of the current sleep issues. Is it waking up to pee? Is it waking up with hot sweats? Is it waking up an hour before your alarm goes off too early? Or is it that you are exhausted at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, even though you think you're kind of getting okay sleep? Maybe it's just not enough to re-energize you. So have a write of and get clear, because when people talk to me about, I'm having trouble sleeping with menopause, and I see it just about every client. They might not come for that, but just about every client has some kind of sleep disruption. And we'll talk about that why. I've already mentioned progesterone and estrogen, but there's actually other really fascinating reasons why we have interrupted sleep. And they're a little less perhaps what you call scientific, but put a real positive spin on sleeplessness and can really free you up to look for the silver lining in all of this. All right, so I want you to type in the chat for me now. I'm going to stop sharing. I want you to type for me in the chat a couple of your sleep issues. What are the things bothering you, so that Because if we only get sort of 3 things, then I can hone in on those areas to address for you. And Victoria, welcome. What we're doing is writing down our current sleep issues. The worksheet went out during the day in an email, or it's in the chat if you want to download it and print it out. Your mind is debriefing. Okay, right. Yes. So very common, like an overactive mind. Yeah, I know that one. And that can be, give me a little bit more detail, Mel. That can be not getting to sleep for some people. Some people have no problem getting to sleep, but they wake up and switch on the mind in the middle of the night. Waking up after a couple of hours, going to bed too late, tired during the day. Right, that's your 3. Okay. Yeah. Heaps better, but still awake through the night, about 3-ish, and having to take off a layer of clothes. Yes, 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. seem to be really common trouble spots, don't they? Awesome. All right. So just to elaborate a little bit more on helpful hints that might come into these sleep issues. So Victoria mentioned, I think it was Victoria, going to bed too late. What exactly is too late, right? Well, if we look at the Chinese clock, so the Chinese have this biological clock which has times of the day that correlate with meridians. And some of them are yin and some of them are yang. And if you know your yin and yang, you know that yin is quiet and yang is more sort of boisterous. And so the absolute best time in order to be able to fall asleep and surrender to sleep, the best time to go to bed is between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Now, it seems quite early, doesn't it? But if you can squeeze in there at 9:30, your ability to get to sleep will be much better, as opposed to getting a second wind and trying to go to bed at 11:30 or 12 or 1, especially if what's keeping you up is your computer or the TV or your phone, which means that you're exposed to EMFs and blue screens and everyone else's, as they say, everyone's highlights on Facebook, which might evoke an emotional response from you. So there's a little bit of a tip. Going to bed between 8 and 10 works the best for that biological daily rhythm. And one of the things us ladies do best is work with rhythms, because we've worked with cycles and rhythms our whole life with our menstrual cycle. And one of the things that the menstrual cycle teaches you is to pay attention to cycles. And so this daily cycle is just another cycle for us to become familiar with. All right, let me see if there's anything else I can mention right now. Mind. The mind is debriefing. So one thing you should know about the mind is that it's always on. The mind never stops. So all we can do is unplug from it. So the analogy that I like to use is a radio station. And, Mind FM is one frequency, and then Sleep FM is another frequency. And so Mind FM goes, it's always on, it's always there, it's always there. And what we want with sleep is to surrender into and move to Sleep FM. And otherwise, we are going to be plugged into the mind's thoughts. So it's not like the mind switches off, which sometimes we think we just need to switch off the mind. It's not really the case. It's more like you have to change your frequency. And that takes work. It takes a little bit of work. All right, let's keep going. tend to mull over how I could have done things differently. Yes, and often beating ourselves up because we didn't do it the right way. That's certainly my experience anyway. All right, so we're going to go to our next question now. And let me just remind myself what that is. What impact is it having on your life? This is really important because, as I said at the top of the sheet as well, menopause or perimenopause is an endocrine challenge. It's a stress on our whole body. So what I'd like you to write out your 5 things. What are your 5 things, 3 to 5 things? How is your sleeplessness or the results of your sleeplessness affecting your life? So where you want to look is on your relationships, your relationship to your highest self, to yourself and your highest self and your source is your number 1 priority. Your partner, your children, your work colleagues, all those relationships. On your energy levels, on your ability to take care of yourself, on how well, how much energy you've got to cook and eat well and exercise, on your libido, on your health. Yeah. Just give it some thought. What's the impact on your life of not sleeping well? Some people put weight on because not being able to sleep is a form of torture. It's a form of stress. It elevates our cortisol levels and it puts us into famine mode. The body thinks it's in famine mode. And so it's virtually impossible to lose weight. On the edge. Oh, darling. Yeah. Mind's not clear. Walking through mud or walking through treacle's another way I look at it. Yeah, walking through mud with your thoughts. Any other comments there? Constantly on the back foot. Right. Doesn't feel like you're kind of handling things. Lack of energy. More snappy than usual. Yeah, the can't be bothered syndrome. And brain fog. Now, some of those might be related to sleep and some of them might be related to the consequences of not sleeping when you don't have the energy to do other things. So fantastic. And, just write in the chat for me how that makes you feel. When you're on the back foot, when you're on edge, when you're moody, when you're snappy, when you're irritable, when you're short with people, how is that, affecting you? How's that making you feel? Yeah, letting people down and disappointing. Yeah, like you're a not so great human being. I know we're not our best self, really, are we? When we can't sleep. I totally get that. Now's honesty time. Now's honesty time. Yeah, no longer the person. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's big. That's really big, especially when you're a parent, especially when you're a partner or you're running a business and you've got people relying on you, even relying on you for employment. Your clients relying on you. I've got a lot of people relying on me at the moment. A lot of people in distress. A lot of people finding the lockdown super intense and It's nice to be able to be there for them and not be stuck in my own stuff. I'm allowed to be human, but I need to rise to the occasion as well, right? Okay, so the next question I want to ask you, it's on your list there. What are you, this is like super, super honest. What is it that you are not doing? Or what are you not doing that would be working? And what are you doing that's not working? Does that make sense? So, confession time. What are your bad habits? Are you having too many coffees? Are you not exercising? Are you, you're right, not listening? You're not listening. Not good. And why not? Let's go deeper. What's going on? Little bit of thought required here. The digital or electronic babysitter, Netflix, is running your show. Yeah. How come? What's missing that you're letting that happen? Not meditating as much? Why? What's getting in the way? What's stopping you? You're in denial. That's honest. You're in denial. Why? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Who are you waiting to rescue you? It's like, we're the grown-ups now. If you're over 50, we're the grown-ups now. There's no more waiting for mum to tell you to go to bed. Yeah. Have a think about it. All right, so let's turn that around. Let's flip that around and answer the question, the next question, how would you like it to be? How would you like it to be? And the reason that we're going down this route is because most people know what they need to do. Most people have an intuitive sense of, I'm not, at least the basics. I'm not resting well because I'm going to bed too late. Or I'm watching TV right until the last minute and I'm not calm. I know that if I did a yin yoga class at 9 o'clock, I could sleep, but I'm not doing it. So it's not just about knowing what to do. It's about doing what you know. And yes, when it gets a little bit more complex, like perhaps hormone levels or cortisol levels, even then, we often intuitively know what we're meant to do. And we want to trust that. Are you connected to that? Do you want to be someone who knows what your body needs and be intuitively connected? Do you want to take some time so that you're not always at the beck and call of everyone else around you? You're taking some time for yourself, going to bed a bit earlier and reading. Yeah, doing some journal work. Having a good night's sleep starts when you wake up. It starts with your morning routine. So getting exposure to light, sunlight, first thing in the morning, activates your brain, activates the melatonin, which sets up your rhythms for the rest of the day. Getting circulation going and some fresh air and sunlight first thing in the morning with some exercise, being outside for a walk. Not having a sugar roller coaster by eating too much grain or sugar throughout the day helps your nervous system and your blood sugars to be in check. Yeah. And I'll tell you one other thing, ladies. One other thing that occurs as we transition into our 50s. I mentioned already that we become more sensitive. we become more spiritually sensitive as well. And what I mean by that is we actually can listen to our bodies better. We're more intuitive. We're more insightful. And one of the best times to listen to that is in the middle of the night. It's the quietest time of the day. You can't do anything else. You're not distracted. All you're doing is lying in bed. It's a great time to meditate. It's a great time to do breath work. It's a great time to speak to your higher self or your source, or at least start to and get connected to that. It's a great time, if you're not used to it, maybe to listen to a guided visualization. It's the veils between the worlds are the thinnest at that sweet golden hour, maybe 3, 4, 5 o'clock, depending on what time the sun's coming up. It's a beautiful time to lie there and appreciate, not to lie there and worry, but to lie there and appreciate, lie there and acknowledge and find the things you're grateful for. It's a really good time for that. All right, so yes, the golden hour. Any other things? How would you like it to be? Who would you like to be? Someone who has taken charge, someone who's eating well, someone who's going to bed on time, someone who's doing, what kind of person would that be? Self-disciplined. That sounds boring, but the results can be amazing. Someone excited by your life, someone active and engaged. So waking at 3 a.m. is a blessing. No, no. I know that we don't see it that way. That 3 a.m. wake up is your cortisol. It's either the liver or the cortisol. So it is an indication that we're a little too stressed than we should be. But then it's okay, now that you know that, what are you going to do about it? How can you take your calm to another level? One of the things that's been opening up for me with some of the things that I've been doing outside of my clinic work, I've been creating some extra things. Like I've got a challenge coming up. I'm going to share that with you in a minute. A challenge coming up in September, a retreat coming up in October. The thing that's been coming up for me is this deep calm. And especially because of the fear that's out there in the world at the moment, the fear and uncertainty really ungrounds us and really activates cortisol levels. So grounding is another thing. Being someone who's disciplined and motivated, yes, but someone who's grounded. And you can do yoga poses, the leg ones where you've got like your legs firmly grounded into the earth. The standing poses are all grounding poses. You can get grounding essential oils, all of the woody resinous ones, like sandalwood, frankincense, myrrh, cedarwood, even the conifers and the firs and the spruces. These are beautiful grounding essential oils. You can ground yourself with meditation. You can ground yourself with breathing. Yeah, good old Frankie. All right, what's our last question, ladies? What is our last question? What's stopping you from achieving that? So why are you here? Is it information that's stopping you? Or is it applying the information? Are you too much in your head? This is the most common thing. What's stopping people, myself included, I had this ongoing, is I was too much in my head. I felt like the answers were up here And the more I thought about them, and the more I worked it out, and this is not a female midlife wise menopause woman's way of dealing with things. It's too yang, it's too masculine for us. We need to go in and down into the womb space, into the legs, into the earth, connect with nature. Embodiment work. I say it a lot. It's much harder than it sounds. You do need accountability. Do need to not be lazy. Yes, Victoria, too cold, too lazy, not accountable. Yeah, some of these things are, they're all valid. And so, you know, some of you ladies I've worked with already, I know where you're at, I know where you're coming from. Others that are new to me and are new friends. And so, you know, what is it that's going to make next year different? What is it what is the clincher? How are you going to not keep doing the same thing? How are you going to get out of Groundhog Day? It's so hard on your own. I like the group work. I love group work. I find that's fantastic. So just food for thought. And while you're thinking about that, let me share with you about what's coming up. Just this is like surprise. No one else knows about this yet. It's not fully formed, but I'm going to show you a free thing coming up that is, give me a thumbs up if you can see that okay. Awesome. Yes, so it's a 5-day. I've called it Surrender to Sleep Rendezvous. We're going to get together on Facebook and 5 days in a row. Awesome, Mel. And we are going to do the doing. We're going to learn how to sleep, relearn how to sleep. So some of it we've discussed tonight. We're going to break it down into some bits and cover it in more detail. And yes, it'll be warmer in September, so no excuses, Victoria. You've started explaining these problems to your family. Yeah, fantastic. And there's a lot more for us to get as well. What I would really like to have you understand, and not just understand, but embody, is how powerful it is to be connected to your insight and your intuition. How powerful it is to come down into the body, grounded in womb space, grounded in your legs, and to connect with your own inner wisdom. And this, to me, is what not being able to sleep indicates. You're not at peace. Your world is not at peace. You're not at peace within yourself. And we want to find that peace. We want to re-establish that peace. And it's different. Just think about the changes that occurred for you when you were a teenager. Massive. The difference between a 10-year-old and a 20-year-old is enormous. Same when you have a child. The difference between who you are pre-conception to who you are when your child is 9 years old, those 10 years, chalk and cheese. And it's the same with perimenopause. The difference between who you are at 43 to who you are at 53, worlds apart. And it can be great or it can be awful. And learning to create peace within, learning to surrender and surrender to sleep is a really big part of it. And I'd like to invite you along to that event. The details aren't fully formed yet, as I mentioned. And let me just stop sharing here. Oh, okay. So it's designed to help you get to sleep in 10 minutes or less, designed to help you get back to sleep more quickly, designed to have you wake up more refreshed, and designed to have more energy throughout the day without that 3 p.m. itis thing going on. If you want to know more, just schedule a free session with me and we'll chat about more details on that and what might be appropriate for you. Whoa. Don't you just love all right. So the other thing I'll just briefly mention is my retreat coming up in October. It's not just an escape with pampering and healthy food and wonderful meditation and all that kind of stuff, but it is a journey over the weekend, journey to deep calm, to refine that peace within. So here's the rendezvous to sleep. If you're not already in my Facebook group, the Menopause Lounge, then just get your camera on your phone, hold it over that QR code there, and it'll take you straight to the Menopause Lounge and you can sign up for that. You're most welcome. And finally, there's the little complimentary ticket if you'd like to chat with me. And that's all we need around that. So just think it through. It's an ongoing process. You don't become transformed overnight. Transformation takes time, effort, commitment, investment, and patience. So, questions. Ladies, I'm here for questions. And you can ask me something specific about yourself. Pop them in the chat. What are your questions? What's opened up from today's discussion? Or your takeaways. So I'm just reading the comments. Funny how you think once you're an adult, you'll always be the same. I hope not. By the way, in Native American traditions, you don't grow up till you're 50. You're not an adult till you're 50. So, but now once you're 50, it's time to grow up. It really is time to grow up. Thoughts of melatonin. Yeah. I use it occasionally. I prescribe it occasionally, but it is a hormone. And I'm not really keen to replace the body's own natural hormones. It's more of a sort of drug approach. I prefer to help the body create its own. And partly that is to do with reducing stress levels, reducing cortisol levels, managing the adrenal glands. That's one thing that we didn't really talk much about today, and that's adrenal support. So ginseng, cholesterol in the diet, really good cholesterol in the diet is important for the adrenals. So egg yolks are amazing. That going for a walk in the mornings and allowing the sunlight to hit the eyes, no glasses, no, keep, when you go for a walk, don't wear sunglasses because you're blocking the light from coming in and it affects your diurnal rhythms. So yeah, it's occasional use, Maya, but I'm not encouraging people to take it regularly or daily, if possible. So, other questions, Victoria? You still with us? Any more questions for our recording audience? There are a few people who couldn't make it tonight, so they're waiting for our recording. Blue block glasses, yeah. I actually don't have any yet, because I think one of the things that people have told me, there's some people who find that they check their phone and their messages in the middle of the night when they wake up, they get tempted. And that's not a good thing. And so, you've got to put the phone away from you, because it's not just the blue screens, right? It's the EMFs as well, the electromagnetic frequencies. So don't know a lot about blue block glasses, Victoria. I think it's better just to switch your phone off half an hour before you go to bed, and and leave it at that. Set your alarm early. Awesome. All right, ladies. Just to summarize, we're talking about the impact of not sleeping, largely to do with sleep hygiene and sleep habits, and influenced by our biology, which is influenced by our diet, our exercise, our stress management, our relaxation and sleep, and our happiness levels. All really important for creating peace within. And then the keys to surrendering to sleep are to identify the things that work that you're not doing, and to identify the things that don't work that you are doing, and work on those habits. The way to break habits is to be present in your body. So doing presence work, breath work, art of feminine presence work, coming to my retreat, coming to my online rendezvous, are helpful just to help you stay in the game, stay on track, and other services that may be appropriate for you. And then finally, being kind to yourself, cutting yourself some slack. If you're not doing all these things perfectly, don't worry. No one does. And do one thing at a time, tackle one thing at a time, and you'll get there. All right. Much love to you, everyone. We've hit the 45-minute mark. Thank you very much. And I'll say goodnight. I'll just hang here for a minute if anyone would like to ask me a question, but I am going to stop the recording. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, our video recording audience as well, for watching. And if you'd like to reach out, my email address is brenda@qwomen.com.au.